I'm going to do a video today about jump progression and basically figuring out jumps, a new jump line. This jump line for me is technically new to me. It's well within my level, but it's just a very awkward jump line. It's very single track. It's very kind of loose and rutted from Suron riders being on it, and it's slightly off camber being on a hillside. So I've already hit all the tiny jumps on the hill with my rebound fully open fast, and now as I move over to this jump line, I moved it more to the middle. Yesterday I was hitting it with the rebound closed completely slow, so today we're just gonna figure it out towards the middle. But one of the big challenges with this line is the entry, the angle of it. It's basically a berm with a Suron rut on the low side, so you have to high side the berm, and it's a bit challenging to do at speed, which makes you enter a bit too slow. So on this first one, I'm going to try to take a crank before the first jump, and it's going to mess me up. So it looks like I kind of maybe I get loose, especially when you pedal. It can be very challenging. I try to recommend never pedaling on a jump line if you can, but I either get loose in the terrain or I accidentally pedal up into the sort of camber, the off camber nature of the terrain, and it puts me offline at an angle, and I have to pull out of the jump line. So for the next run, I just get the angle a bit cleaner, and when I pedal I don't come offline, but I do slow down a bit, and I'm just making each jump. You can kind of see me lurching and bunny hopping in order to clear the jumps. So I'm getting to a point where I feel like if I'm pedaling and I'm still casing, it might not be the best move, so I'm just going to try to go into the corner faster, especially now that I've kind of gotten used to the line, and not take a crank before the lip. And now without pedaling, just by taking the corner a bit better and pumping the terrain a bit more and not pedaling,
It was the pedal.
I stay right on line and I'm able to keep my speed, and then this is my first clean run through the jump line. So now I want to see if I can make it a bit more stylish and clean and really perfect this jump line. So now I try to throw in a little extra lean into each air. I go for a whip on the second one, and I just don't quite get the angle I want. I don't pull it back in, and then I almost mess up the third jump and just kind of wrangle it back in. So I like the idea of what I'm trying to do, but I clearly need to clean it up, so I'm gonna have to go again and try to make that whip straighter, keep it centered in the jump line. Because I struggled with the whip, I decided to see if the jump is a bit more conducive to a Euro table or a downside table.
Okay.
And I do about the same thing as the whip. By doing the Euro table, I get a little off center. I don't bring it back where I want it into the center of the line, and I just about mess up the third one and barely clear it again. This time I make a slightly similar mistake. I'm carrying speed better, but I come offline at a very different angle. So I do this Euro table, it feels pretty good, but then I'm shooting pretty fast off to this right side, and I land in this really soft rough stuff, which I never want to do ideally, so I'm gonna have to go back and try to clean it up again. So now I'm gonna go back to the whip because I just didn't like what I was feeling on the Euro table. I thought the camber of the jump would be a bit better for it, but I'm still struggling, so I'm gonna go back to the whip, and I get a really clean run through here. And even after doing the whip on the second jump, I stay nice and centered and clear the third jump very normally. So this would be my first clean run with, I wouldn't really call it a trick, but just some more style and flair, and basically control is the important thing. First clean run with extra control. And at this point, I'm going to take a 10-minute water break while some hikers pass by, so I don't draw too much attention to the jumps. So I only took a 10-minute break, but I thought this would be a really good example of when you pause whatever you're doing, your progression, whether it's just for 10 minutes or a whole 24 hours and you come back the next day or whatever, you can't necessarily just pick up where you left off. You want to be careful. Small changes can happen. This one I feel completely comfortable on the first jump. I think I got everything right. I almost feel like my shock wasn't damping the rebound as much, so the rebound was, because it wasn't actuating for a while, it didn't damp as well, and I got a little extra pop on the second one. Overshot it a little bit onto the nose, got a little sketchy, but otherwise was fine. And on this very next line, I feel like I do everything the exact same, and it goes much better. I do control the air a bit more. It feels a bit like the last run before I took a break, but maybe my shock was operating a bit better, so I could really put all that extra control and pop into the jump without the shock fighting me. So now that I'm having success with the whip, I'm going to try to whip it out even more, see how far I can go, see if I can bring it back in, but I think with how lippy this jump is and how relatively small it is, it's really hard for me to actually kick out as well as bring it back in, so I'm kind of just landing fully awkward, and it's going to make it a bit challenging to get over the third one, but I think I got it about to where I want it for this particular jump build. Having a good bit of success with the moto style whip out to the right, I wanted to see if I could do a more BMX style whip, which is, for me, it's I go out to my left, but it's not going to go so well. I come in a bit cautious and slow, I freeze up, I don't control the jumps, and then I go kind of dead sailor and awkward. So now I just try to keep my speed better and fully commit to what I'm trying to do, and unfortunately it leads to me getting this atrocity on film. So for the last run, in order to get redemption before I leave, I tell myself that I want to go through the line and ride it as cleanly and controlled as possible. I don't set a specific hard rule on what I'm gonna do, if I'm gonna whip a certain way or Euro or straight air. I just tell myself I want it to look as clean and controlled as possible, and that's about what I do. Small whip on the first one, small downside table on the second one, and just a basic bar turn on the third one. And then for the last part of the video, I'm just gonna quickly walk through the jumps to give you an idea of what the size is, what the gap distance is, what the distance landing to lip is each time, etc., etc.